Everyone, this is Rob Roy, and welcome to the HUBB Financial Crypto Show. We'll have our special guest, as always, all things crypto, Mr. Brandon Burton. We'll bring Brandon in just a moment, but real quickly, let's just get an update of where the S&P is, where the equities markets are before we start talking about crypto. And as we've talked about in the last recording, we had this ascending pennant pattern. We were in the upper end of it. It was likely to drift back down towards the middle, at least, if not down towards the lower end. And that's exactly what's been going on since we talked last. We're just kind of consolidating right here towards the point of this ascending pennant pattern. It becomes even more interesting on the possibility of this being an ending diagonal. But we do have to create the wave 4 and 5 first. But as we continue to climb up here, we have the C wave extension and the zigzag right around 615 on the SPY. And that seems where we're destined to move. We'll take a look at the moving averages. And there's the 10-day moving average. We're just hanging on to that at the time of this recording. We'll see if we can hold that into the close of the trading day. But the big news this week is going to be the Fed meeting. Are they going to cut the 25 basis points? The market has it priced in. If they didn't, that could surprise the markets. So I'll be interested to hear Brandon's take on that. We were talking a little bit before we started the recording about where things could go based on what the Fed does. And more importantly, what the Fed says. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Rob. We've been talking all year, you and I, Rob. We're doing just fine.
Oh, yeah. I think you're doing very well.
We're doing good.
We teased them in the last recording that in this next one we would talk about where things may go from here. And I think, at least based on what I see, that's a little murkier to figure out where things may go from here. But certainly whatever the Fed has to say tomorrow is going to have a lot to do with that. But we'll chat a little bit about the Fed meeting in a minute. I'll bring up the chart of Bitcoin, and you can see what we're talking about. And Brandon had this pegged on where we were going to go. We had this small ascending triangle here last week. We've broken out to the upside of that. So, gosh, we're up right at this moment around 107,000 on Bitcoin, Brandon. Not hard to see why you got a big old smile on your face. It's not like,
well, I mean,
not like
anybody here as
tell
well.
everybody this a year ago.
That's what I was saying. Anybody here on the HUBB channel that's been watching us, I mean, we started talking about this at 30, 40,000, Rob, you and I, and we were saying, it's going to go to 80 to 100,000 by the end of the year. And look where we're sitting. 107. We're not mad. We're not mad about it. Okay.
You're not upset that it went higher than your target price.
Oh, geez. Oh, my heck. Well, everybody's sitting here now, and it's like you said, Rob. Let's hop into this because everybody wants to know what now. I mean, if you missed this gigantic run, I feel bad. We begged and begged and begged, and I cried to my mom and dad and said, "Buy Bitcoin," and they just laughed at me. All my friends at the gym, they did the same thing. It's funny because the girl at the front desk, I'm like, "Go buy Bitcoin," and she acted like I was trying to scheme her into a pyramid scheme of some sort, and Anyway, my kid bought Bitcoin because he listened to me. I'm emphatic about it. And he's up a good 4x this year on his little earnings that he has. And so he's sitting pretty. He's the richest kid in his high school now. And he's just fine. He's fine with that. So I think we're all good here if we listen to what we were talking about on the HUBB channel. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about what's going to happen with Bitcoin here over the next little bit. But first things first, I want to talk to you about what's going on today. Throw that picture on the screen. Ryan, this, my friends, is a Pudgy Penguin. This is an NFT, a non-fungible token on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, a week ago, if we do some quick maths, a week ago, this thing cost $38,000. Now, all of my friends laugh at me when I buy NFTs. They say, "Why are you buying a picture? I can just copy and paste that bad boy. I can screenshot it, and I have the picture too." Well, let me explain why that's a little bit not correct. Now, this is a non-fungible token with a unique ID on the Ethereum blockchain. And currently, because if you wanted to buy it, you would have had to pay $38,000. Today's price on this bad boy, on this penguin right now, if you wanted to sell this thing in any of the markets, If we look at the value today, it's $63,695. Which you're like, oh, okay. Your screenshot, I can assure you, didn't go up to a value of $63,695. Nope. But in addition to that, this project dropped a token today, which is why the value appreciated. The airdrop of the Pengu token for every single one of these little JPEGs that you had in your wallet was valued at $94,625 and completely liquid. You could have insta sold that thing for that amount of money. You could have insta sold your JPEG 4 seconds later for $63,695. And then if I do my quick maths correctly, in a week, your ROI, your return on investment was $128,320 had you held this JPEG in your wallet. Now, I can assure you, if you still have that screenshot on your phone, you won't be able to sell that to anybody for $128,320 profit, including the $38,000 cost or whatever it is. You have a pretty picture on your phone. But that's the value of NFTs. Now, that is kind of a crazy little thing that happened today. And so all those guys that bought those penguin pictures are doing pretty well. They have a little project that's a sub-project underneath it that got a lot of people. But Jupiter holders and Jupiter stakers, which we have talked about, Rob, if you were staking Jupiter, you actually got a pretty nice little drop of this token as well. These token airdrops happen all the time in crypto, and they benefit the whole ecosystem. So over 5 million wallets got airdropped this token that was worth a pretty penny. I know I have a lot of Jupiter staked, and I got that token. I immediately sold it and made a pretty penny. I won't say how much, but it's decent. And we were very pleased with the drop there. So there's wins all the way around. So just because you buy little JPEGs and stuff, there's utility attached to all these things. And you got to stay ahead of all this space. And that's why people follow us over at Digital Investor, because we stay up on this stuff. We know what to buy, when to buy it, and all these airdrops that are happening. Because if you don't stay ahead of all these things, you won't know when you're getting free money in the crypto space. I don't know. It's kind of like the US dollar. They just print it out of thin air. This same crypto space. They print money out of thin air. But anyway, that's a cool little story what happened today. But let's get into what's going on with Bitcoin, because everybody wants to know, what the heck now? We're reaching the end of the year. What's going on? Well, I want to show this little side here because, what's up, Rob?
Brandon, yeah, if I could just interrupt you real quick before we leave this, because I think you brought up a really good point on the NFTs. On what I've heard about them is there's always the concern from what I hear with people that are interested in investing is the liquidity. If we get it, and it goes up in value, how hard is it to sell it and take that gain? But you just explained, or what I heard you say, is that it's very liquid. It's not really that big a deal at all to get out, to take your profits if you wanted to.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, not at all. I mean, even if you were to look at my screen here, these little penguins are selling every 28 seconds. And those are 15 ETH, which is 15 times 4. $60,000, $70,000 or whatever every 2 minutes you can sell. And you could also have a bid. So if you wanted to instantly sell into the market, you can instantly sell into the bid at any given time. So these things are fairly liquid, and you can see the price drop. So the price dropped on these bad boys to account for the airdrop today. And so even with the airdrop, people are still up quite a bit once you do all the maths. Anyway, but yeah, these things are fairly liquid. You're having these $60,000 JPEGs sell every minute. This one sold 10 per minute. Anyway, pretty crazy. So yeah, the liquidity definitely is there. Now, Ryan, let's talk about our president of El Salvador. He just flashed this up on the screen the other day. He tweeted this just to tout. They buy 1 Bitcoin every single day, these guys, and they're up a pretty penny. And they're, what is that, 300, I can't even read it, but $300 million or whatever it is in unrealized gains in their account now. They're doing pretty well. But the story right now, and Forbes came out with this, is what is Trump going to do once he gets inaugurated? Now, he talked in Nashville earlier this year about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Forbes just reiterated that plan, and they say Bitcoin is going to go to $15 trillion market cap, which is, I think, 7.5 times bigger. So it puts Bitcoin at about 750,000 per coin, give or take. If it does happen, I think that's a little bullish, but I do believe that if we do get the strategic reserve, we are going to push Bitcoin to new highs. Now, Japan has also said they're going to be doing strategic reserve. Even Russia now is talking about doing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So it's going to be an arms race to get this thing done, which that is amongst other, there's so much happening right now. Amongst other things, why we see Bitcoin going to new all-time highs is because this is on the docket. People are pushing this forward. Texas just passed their strategic Bitcoin bill, and they're going to be putting that into place over here in the next little bit. And if you don't know what Texas is, it's the size of most countries by itself. Like, I think it's like the sixth largest economy in the entire world or something like that, if you compare it to other countries. So, Rob, we got to talk about where is Bitcoin going now, okay? You mentioned we have the meeting tomorrow, right? The Fed rate cut. So Bitcoin isn't going to do much until tomorrow. We're going to watch that meeting happen, and then we might see a move in either direction, actually, based on what happens there and the tone of what's said in that meeting. As you know, better than probably anybody, Rob, the hawkish tone or the dovish tone says more than the rate cut itself. So we're going to watch kind of what is said there and how it's said and kind of the inference that's given there. But Bitcoin could stagnate towards the start of the next year as people take some profits for tax harvesting to rebalance their portfolios. But after that, we have blue skies. As you know, Master MicroStrategy just got introduced to the QQQ. They're number 50, I think, on that at a 0.5 weighting. So what does that mean, Rob? That means everybody has to start buying MicroStrategy, which means everybody is essentially buying Bitcoin. And once everybody starts buying MicroStrategy, Micro Sailor, I call it Micro Sailor, Michael Saylor is going to be selling at the money stock to in turn buy more Bitcoin. So this guy buys 11,000 Bitcoin a day. It's just not going to stop. So most people are saying we're going to be hitting 150K next year. I tend to agree. I mean, sometime next year, we're going to be in the 150, 170K mark next year, and Bitcoin's not going to slow down because we're still at the start of this bull market right now, Rob.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. When we look at the chart of Bitcoin and breaking out of that ascending triangle that we had talked about, the analogy I use is that we're in clean air now. People have always heard me say that, talking about a racing analogy. If you're the car out in front, you have clean air coming in, your engine runs better, your performance is better. And that's what happens when you're looking at technical analysis is there's no resistance now. The only resistance we had was what was built at 100,000. So, the sky's the limit. 150,000, I think, could easily happen this year. And I am with you. We may get a little bit of a pullback. It all depends on, as you mentioned, not only what the Fed does, but what they say. What's going to happen has pretty much been telegraphed. The Fed could surprise, I think, because there's been a few of the Fed governors jawboning that I don't know if we should cut. We should rest now. But I do think the expectation is going to be that they cut the December meeting because they feel like they've telegraphed it so much, and it'd be too much of a market disappointment if they didn't. But then they may rest and see what happens from here. So if everything goes status quo, maybe, as you said, we consolidate. But then, Brandon, as you've been talking and you're showing the slides of the other governments and then what Trump's plan is for the strategic reserve, et cetera, he hasn't been buying that yet, right? He's not even in office yet. So, in my opinion, any sort of a consolidation or pullback here might be a quick buying opportunity. It's hard to say that when we're up here, and we were having a chat beforehand where we're starting to hear from people that were just so negative, anti-cryptos at all, are now asking, should I go buy now? And that does start to make you get a little bit of, okay, if everybody wants to buy, who's left to buy? Going back to the old Joe Kennedy shoeshine guy story back before the crash of the market in 29. So maybe we need to rest a little bit more, but gosh, we went through a nice consolidation on the post-election run and just broke out again. It could continue higher, don't you think? Or it could pull back. Boy, that's brilliant analysis.
Yeah,
it can go up or it can go down. People love it when I say
it can
that.
Go up. Yeah, no, that's perfect. What's going to happen here? There is going to be some volatility, so don't be scared when this thing does drop back to 100,000, because what's happening is people in Bitcoin can put on 100x leverage, and that stuff gets wiped all the time because right now the market makers will go ahead and chase those leveraged longs, those leveraged shorts to give BlackRock and MicroStrategy the liquidity that they need. And quite the contrary is happening right now. You asked about Trump buying. Biden is actually trying to move to sell whatever reserves they have just to act against whatever Trump wants to do. So you have the inverse happening right now. They're pushing money that they do have, that Silk Road Bitcoin, over to the Coinbase Marshall service to go ahead and auction that stuff off. And that's being done right now. So they are trying to act against whatever Trump's trying to do. So the change will come when Trump gets inaugurated and gets put in office. And he could do an executive order day one to put that strategic Bitcoin reserve into place. The odds on Parley market for that are 40%, so not very high, but we are watching that, and that is a possibility. The more likely possibility is it just gets put through Congress and the Senate and then gets put into place. But Trump may be a little more aggressive. He's stated a couple times, even recently, how pro Bitcoin he still is, and his Trump coin, his world Liberty token, just bought another $5 million worth of Ethereum, bought some Aave yesterday or this last week, and some Chainlink. So they are still purchasing crypto assets for their token. So got to keep that stuff in mind. This isn't like other cycles. I know we can't say this time is different, but this time is a little bit different in that we have bigger buyers that are entering the market now because of the stability in Bitcoin and because the regulation that's going to be following here over the next year. And governments are now, they feel a little bit better about buying Bitcoin because the United States supports it. So they feel a little bit safer. Hedge fund managers, they're feeling a little bit safer because BlackRock is now endorsing everybody to go get 2% now of their portfolios in Bitcoin, not just 1% anymore, 2%, which is a big chunk of $10 trillion worth of assets that they have under management. Nothing's going to stop this thing right now.
Yeah, it makes a tremendous difference. And when I look at the chart of Bitcoin, and we have had that breakout of the triangle, usually if you're going to get to the end of a momentum run, you have that big blow off, right? The FOMO hits its peak, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's broken above 100,000 and now it's continuing up and I've missed it. I got to jump in now. And then you get that big spike. And then maybe that could be the point where we pause or pull back. But where we are right now hasn't had quite that vertical move that would make me nervous yet. I just got a normal breakout. But you do have to respect the fact that so many people are talking about it. And I wasn't aware of what you were talking about as far as the Biden administration trying to sell in front of it. That doesn't seem like a very smart thing to do, but I do understand the whole political game, and you got to go against what the incumbent is going to be saying. So really interesting stuff. But I think if it spikes from here, you watch it and say, awesome. But maybe we wait. Maybe this is not the best time to buy. Would you agree with that? Maybe we just need to keep a little eye on it.
If it were me, now you mentioned something about blowout top. I mean, look at the percentage it's up today, 1%. Does that affect? I mean, is that like mind blowing to anybody? There's a unit bias now on Bitcoin. It's up $2,000 or whatever, but that's actually not that much, anymore. Even yesterday's move when it was up like 4,000, that's only 3% for Bitcoin. That's not a big move. A 10% move in Bitcoin, that's a big move. Now, if I am not in Bitcoin and I'm looking to buy Bitcoin, what I would do at this point, I would probably watch it a little bit into the start of the year, maybe look for a pullback here the first couple weeks of January, and then maybe start DCAing. But I never go all in on a Bitcoin. It's still a DCA purchase for me, and I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy it all this month. DCA is always still the safest strategy, but I can assure you, and it's kind of like Michael Saylor said here, everybody's like, oh man, is this what you're doing? Is it a Ponzi scheme? Is it something that's going to topple the house of cards? And he always relates Bitcoin to Manhattan when we first settled Manhattan. Everybody thought, it's super expensive to buy. It's super expensive to buy every year. They think it's super expensive to buy real estate in Manhattan. But if you look back over any 4-year, 10-year period, it's always been a good investment. Bitcoin's going to be the same thing.
I couldn't agree more. You have convinced me, my friend, over time. I have to admit, I had my days. It's been a while ago, and I regretted that I wasn't more aggressive when we first started talking on purchases. I brought up a chart of Cardano, and you kind of got this one right as well. You said that one's probably going to consolidate for a bit. Maybe it runs over, and that's exactly what it's done, at least for now. Now it's forming a bit of a symmetrical triangle, so we're probably going to see some sort of a move out of Cardano. But I wanted you had passed on some interesting information on XRP, which is making a little bit of a breakout move from its own triangle today. Thought you'd share with what you were telling me before we started the recording on XRP.
XRP is interesting. So it had its big move as soon as Gary Gensler said that they're going to leave. A couple of their trials, a couple of their cases basically went away. So they lost. I mean, the SEC, they don't have the SEC monkey on their back, and so they're doing a little bit better there. And so they had a big jump. Now, what they released today is their RLUSD, which is their stable coin. This is the stable coin that they're going to be using for bank payments and bank interactions. Now, they have done all the compliance in New York, and I think they're one of the only cryptos to have the level of compliance that they have to be able to integrate their crypto with the banking system. So I think the banking, I can't remember, it's 901002 or something like that. They use that compliance level. I don't know. I'd have to look up the number now. It's right off the top of my head. But whatever RLUSD does is it complies perfectly with the banking system's ledgers and all that stuff. So that's why XRP is running a little bit today, is they think that they're going to be the first ones to be able to integrate seamlessly with the banking system.
So do you think this is a temporary breakout move, or do you think they could move a little higher from here?
No, in a bull market, I think XRP is still going to go higher. I don't think this isn't fake. It's like if you pulled up two charts, Cardano and XRP. Of the two, Cardano I would never look at ever again, because Charles Hoskins is kind of well, can I say this on the show? He's an idiot, right? So he's basically ran that company into the ground. He spews nonsense every single day. So, I mean, of the two, I would probably lean towards XRP, and I would expect that to continue to do better as it gains more and more traction here. That has a big following behind it, even though it's ran quite a bit. I mean, it's got a big following behind it. As we continue, if this bull run continues and Bitcoin doesn't just absolutely crap the bed, XRP could be in a good place because they've done all the things to keep regulators happy.
Yeah. I don't see the scenario of Bitcoin crapping the bed, as you say, but a little bit of a pullback, as we've talked about, at some point in time is likely going to happen. But you do have to respect the consolidation. I mean, this is classic stuff. When you go up more vertically like this and you go through a consolidation phase, it's my favorite breakout pattern, honestly. When you go vertically up and then you create a triangle, it looks like a golf flag, kind of, with a straight move up, and then the triangle move after that. That pattern always breaks out. Now, we don't always know which way it's going to go, but it always breaks out, and it did again here in Bitcoin. So this is the time of year, Brandon, where everybody wants the next year's outlook. You talked about it a little bit already, and where things are going to go. I know people are talking 150. Well, you were so spot on this year. Do you have your own personal number on where you think Bitcoin may go in this next year?
Over the next couple months, I mean, I see Bitcoin easily going to 125,000 quarter one. And then I do expect a little bit of a pullback. And I don't know if that's going to be after May into the summer or if it's going to be before. I would have to just try to get a pulse on that, a little bit better read. But towards the end of the year, we could be at 150 to 175 again. I don't see Bitcoin stopping this next year. And typically in any bull run, the second year after the bull run starts is just as good or better. I mean, even if you compare that to the stock market, the S&P, right? So I don't know if you know this or not, but what the S&P did this year, it's only done 8 other times in history. And what that is back-to-back 20% plus gains. So 2023, They had a 20% plus gain. This year, they had a 20% plus gain. Typically, year 3, you would think, oh, it's going to pull back. But every time over history, year 3 is an average of a 12% gain in the S&P as well. So I would not be as concerned as all the doomsayers say about a huge pullback. We could have another bullish year.
And I think that's highly likely as well. One of the things that when you see stocks that have broken like this, and then we know what the fundamentals are, right? You've talked about other countries buying them, what market strategies doing, what Trump's doing. How soon does he do it? I think matters. As we talked earlier, he could do an executive order and do it right after he's inaugurated, or maybe there's a little bit of a purchase plan that they have. But even that seems like it would be steady. And then there's a difference, right? If, let's say all of this buying occurs early in Q1, and then we do get the big run to the upside. There's a difference in charting when you have a pullback based on a pause in buying, right? The buyers step away. That's a different kind of pullback than a hard correction where sellers jump in. So where's the motivation for people to jump in and sell? Maybe there's some profit taking here and there, and you get, some small pullbacks, but where's the motivation? At this point, it seems like the acceptance is becoming so widespread around the globe that where's the big correction going to come from? I don't really see it. Little small corrections, buying pauses, if you will, I think are highly likely, especially with the timing, the way it plays out in the first quarter. But it's almost like the old expression, buy the dip, and that seems like that would be a smart thing to do in this coming year. Anytime you get a opportunity, step in and buy a little. You talk about how you DCA all the time as well, and you know more about this than anyone else I know, and that's your motive. So even with all your knowledge, you don't just jump in all at once. It's not a smart thing to do. It's not a prudent thing to do in any sort of investing. But yeah, I think that's likely to play out this next year. Is wait for the buying pauses, little bits of pullbacks, add a little bit here, and just keep watching this thing. And I think we'll have a really good assessment. When you agree, at the end of the first quarter of next year, we'll see where we are with Bitcoin. Not that we won't be talking, we'll be talking a lot in between then. But I think at that point in time, we'll have a much clearer picture of, okay, where are we now after all that stuff that's gone on, the inauguration, new administration, everything else. And then we have whatever amount of purchasing and whatever the plan is going to be. We'll know that. And then we can give a pretty good assessment, I think, on where things will likely be at the end of the year then. So buy the dips in the meantime is the way I look at it. But let me know if you disagree with me. But
it definitely depends on kind of what Trump says over here as we get through the inauguration. That's just a big event. I mean, if he says strategic reserve, boom. If he doesn't, then boom. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big difference here. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, agreed. And if he doesn't follow through with what he said, of course, that could be a short-term negative for sure. But sure seems like he's pretty committed to it. And he seems like he really wants to come in and do what he says at the beginning. He's given every indication that he's committed to that. This just wasn't political rhetoric, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because we all know that during political runs, the politicians will say what they think the contingents want to hear to get in office, and then the actual inactions that occur after they're in office doesn't always coincide. But he really does seem committed to this. This is going to happen.
I think so.
Even if he doesn't, you've shown so many charts of other countries that are doing it. So the demand is literally global on this thing.
Trump's competitive too. I mean, do you think he wants to let China buy before he buys? Come on, get out of here. Trump wants it.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, he. I mean, that it's almost playing to his competitive nature, as you said, and he wants to win, and he wants the U.S. to win, and so we're gonna have a fun time watching this as we move through. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up today? What are you looking at?
Pretty much. What am I watching today? I mean, I'm watching. That's a loaded question. Let's talk about that next week, because we should talk about kind of some things that I'm looking.
I'm watching
right now. It's been a good year. Hey, Rob, it's been a good year. Anyone
that listens to you, right along with you. So
yeah. Anyway, no, that's pretty much it. Go check us out over at Digital Investor. We do classes 5 days a week. We walk through all this stuff, and you won't miss a thing as long as you're signed up. So don't screw this up this time. I think we have a lot coming up this year, and this is airdrop season. So the only way to find out about the airdrops and the free money in crypto that you're going to be getting is by following us over there and watching along with us. So go ahead and sign up over there. That's going to be your number one.
Sounds good. Thanks as always, Brandon. Really appreciate your time. Learned a lot about the NFTs. I wasn't sure. I mean, I had heard all things about the liquidity. That's why I asked the question, and you cleared that up real well with evidence that they're very liquid. Tell them right away. So it's interesting to hear the old NFTs come back, because when they first came out, right, that was all the rage, and then you kind of didn't hear about it too much, and then now seems to be back in vogue again. Everything goes in cycles, doesn't it, Brandon? It's just fun to watch how all this plays out. Have a great holiday season, my friend, and I look forward to chatting with you. I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk again before the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's getting towards the holidays where everybody has plans and stuff. But gosh, I can't wait to talk to you in January as we start to watch all this stuff actually unfold and play out. So it's going to be exciting. So hope everybody joins us then. And if we don't chat again, happy holidays to you and your family, Brandon. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. And take care, everybody.